Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to be learning about paired text or connecting paired text. It's when you have two passages about the same topic, but one is fiction and one is nonfiction. So let's look about the video to see what it actually looks like.
Today, I am going to teach you how to read paired texts. Paired texts are passages that have a connection. Why should we practice reading these? When readers read two texts that have a connection, they can compare and contrast ideas presented in each text. Comparing and contrasting is good for your brain. Comparing and contrasting helps learners remember information and transfer understanding between subjects and ideas. This flexible thinking helps us synthesize ideas and use information in new ways. Readers can compare and contrast two different fiction pieces or two different nonfiction pieces. You can also compare a fiction piece with a nonfiction piece, or fiction and nonfiction to a video or multimedia text. When reading a set of paired texts, ask yourself, what is each text about? How is it said? Other things to ask, why does this matter? What can I learn about comparing these sets? And how are the two passages connected? Also ask, what are their similarities and differences? Now that you know the basics, it's time to try it yourself.
Okay, so those are the basics about paired text connecting. Let's look at the anchor chart. And it says you need to think about these things when you are reading both texts. How are they similar and different? How the information in a nonfiction book help you understand or enjoy the fiction book more? How are you using the strategies? Were they the same or different between both types of text? And what is another fiction or nonfiction story that you can add to whatever you're reading? Okay, so basically you're just connecting the two, finding out what they have that are the same and different. Moving on, here's an anchor chart, and this is how to read paired passages. First, you have to read each passage carefully. Secondly, you're going to code the passage, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. Third, you will notice and track all the characteristics of each genre. And fourth, you're going to think about how the passages are alike and how they're different. Today, we're going to also learn a new strategy to help us when we're reading paired text, and that's called the READ strategy. R-E-A-D. R stands for reading both passages and to understand them. E is explaining how you made a connection with those two passages. A, analyzing the passages, thinking about how they were similar and different. And D, determining the answers to questions to follow up with what you read. So you will look at two short passages, you will explain them, you will compare and contrast similarities and differences on those passages, and you will determine answers to help you understand them. Here's a video we're going to watch that will help you better understand the READ strategy.
Hey guys, this is Mrs. Wohlers. Today we're going to learn about connecting text with paired passages. Today you will be responsible for reading, thinking about what you are reading, and achieving by making connections between texts. Connecting text involves using background knowledge, comparing and contrasting text, and synthesizing information. Here's how we're going to do this. First, we're going to read both passages. Did you understand them? Then explain, how are they connected? Next, analyze, how are they similar and different? Finally, determine the answers to the questions. Let's try it. Now we're going to read two passages. Follow along and think about how they're connected. What's the same? What's different? What are mammals? Mammals are living creatures that have several characteristics in common. First, all mammals have hair. Some have thick hair, while others have thin and wispy hair. Mammals also give birth to live young that are smaller versions of themselves. Their babies do not hatch from eggs. Mammal mothers also nurse their young by giving them milk from their body to drink. All mammals have 4 limbs. Some walk on all fours, but others can walk upright. Mammals also use lungs to breathe and have vertebrae that make up a backbone. Some mammals, like whales and dolphins, live in the water, but need to come to the surface for air. Mammals can be found all over the world on every continent. People are mammals too. Reptile or amphibian. Reptiles and amphibians are the same and different in many ways. First, they are the same because they both have backbones and are cold-blooded. This means that their internal body temperature cannot heat up or cool down on its own. They both breathe air, but some species can hold their breath for a long time. The two types of animals are different because amphibians lead two lives. First, they begin life in the water and eventually move on to land. While they both hatch from eggs, amphibian eggs are laid in the water, and reptiles' eggs are laid on dry land. Amphibians go through a metamorphosis, growing their parts as they turn into an adult, while reptiles are born looking like miniature adults. Now we're going to explain how they were connected. The first passage was about mammals. The second passage was about reptiles and amphibians. Both passages described characteristics of these types of animals. Now we're going to analyze how they are similar and different. Mammals, reptiles, and amphibians all have backbones and breathe air. Reptiles and mammals give birth to little versions of themselves, unlike amphibians whose babies do not look anything like small adults. Mammals are different because they give birth to live young. Reptiles and amphibians lay eggs. Finally, we determine the answers to the questions. The information presented in What Are Mammals and Reptile or Amphibian supports the idea that A. Mammals are better than amphibians and reptiles. B. Reptiles cannot live where mammals do. C. Mammals, reptiles, and amphibians can sometimes be found in the same places. Or D. Animals hatched from eggs do not look like their parents. The answer you should have chosen was C. In the first passage, we learned that some mammals, like whales and dolphins, live in the water. In the second, the amphibians begin life in the water, and reptiles begin their life in the land and mostly remain on land, but do sometimes go in the water. So all three types of animals can sometimes be found in water. Hey guys, just remember, read both passages, explain how they're connected, analyze how they're the same and different, and use that to determine the answers to the questions. You don't need it, but good luck. I know you're going to be amazing.
Create using Powtoon.
Okay, so she gave you a little bit of an example of the read strategy. Okay. All right, moving forward. All right, now we are going to read passages together and use the read strategy to help you make connections. So I'm going to load up Ruby Bridges is a hero, and Ruby Bridges is getting a letter from a friend. So this would be considered the nonfiction text, or fictional one, I'm sorry, and this would be the nonfiction text. So read both passages so that you will be able to determine the similarities and differences using a Venn diagram. So at this point, you can pause the video if you're watching, because I'm going to give you time to read and reflect, compare, and contrast. You may use a sheet of paper to do this, or you may type it in the comments if you're watching on your computer. Okay, now that you've done that, we'll go ahead and look at a few similarities and differences here. Okay, so something similar that both passages had included that they lived in New Orleans before. They were African-American students, and they had to deal with segregation while in school. Okay. Ruby Bridges was in first grade. She had an experience on November 14, 1960. She went to William Frantz School. The federal marshals had to come in to protect her, and a statue is created to help her in her memorial at that school. On the other side, it says read about the incident in a newspaper. So Ruby Bridges' friend who wrote her, Sarah Grant, was talking about that, and she was in third grade, and also it was written in August 1961, August 20th. Okay, so those are a few similarities and differences. You may have something the same, you may have something a little bit different, but as long as you're close to some of those answers, you are doing the right thing by understanding how to compare and contrast those two texts. Moving on. Okay, so now these are 2 questions that I want you to answer for both passages. And make sure that you use your strategies for answering questions to figure out what the question is. And this completes our short video on reviewing about comparing and contrasting paired text. So we made a connection on those 2, and we learned how to use the READ strategy to help us. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you and have a good day.